Beneath the deceptive calm of Lake Tahoe's depths, Bella Nick's honeymoon ended in a nightmare of suffocation and betrayal. On June 17, 2023, the 32-year-old Carroll University lecturer, revered as Madam Get It Done for rescuing troubled youth, plunged 80 feet into Devil's Cauldron's churning abyss. Her scuba gear, weighted with an unexplained 5-pound excess, dragged her down as she clawed for air, her water-filled mask revealing a conscious, desperate struggle against the crushing currents. Was this a tragic misstep by a novice diver haunted by aquaphobia, or a meticulously orchestrated murder? Jerry Downing, her husband of 7 days, swore to protect her from all danger, yet hovered motionless above, his icy composure haunting. A $1.5 million insurance policy, a clandestine flash drive passed by his ex, Janet Dorsey, and a ghostly fourth diver vanishing into the silt, secrets swirl in the lake's depths. Why did Jerry conceal 5 prior Tahoe visits? What forced Bella into the water she feared? This true crime labyrinth of greed, deception, and a possible perfect crime begs the question: who sentenced Bella to drown, and will justice ever surface? The air shimmered with promise as Bella Nick stood radiant in a Wisconsin botanical garden, her ivory gown catching the June sun. Her smile, wide and unguarded, lit up the small gathering of 50 loved ones. Jerry Downing, her groom, clasped her hand, his tailored suit sharp against the soft greenery. His vow to protect her from all danger echoed, but his eyes held a flicker of restraint, unnoticed by most. Bella, a sociology lecturer at Carroll University, was known as Madam Get It Done for her fierce dedication to students, troubled youth, immigrants, and those lost in family chaos. At 32, her empathy, forged by a social worker mother and a principal father, made her a beacon. Yet, a childhood near drowning left her with a paralyzing fear of water and heights, a secret she buried deep. Their romance had ignited months earlier at a university fundraiser. Jerry, a data analyst for a top oil and gas firm, was reserved, his calculated charm balancing Bella's warmth. Within 5 months, he proposed with a ring, weaving their birthstones, and Bella, convinced that love trumped caution, said yes. "When you know," she told her best friend, Eric Mars, brushing off his concerns about the rush. The wedding was a fleeting joy, a moment when dreams seemed eternal. But Jerry's insistence on a Lake Tahoe honeymoon, a haven for scuba diving and mountain climbing, stirred unease. Bella's aquaphobia and acrophobia, relics of that near-fatal childhood plunge, made his choice perplexing. She suggested Napa's Vineyards or Chicago's Lights, but Jerry's emails were firm, diving was non-negotiable, and bookings were made. At Tahoe Crest Inn, Bella gazed at the lake's vast expanse, its surface a mirror hiding treacherous currents. Her text to Eric betrayed her nerves. "It looks endless from the balcony." Jerry, an experienced diver and climber, packed more gear than clothes, his enthusiasm clashing with her dread. Bella had earned scuba and climbing certifications weeks before, driven by love, not desire. The first days were a fragile idyll, lakeside breakfasts, twilight strolls, but diving loomed. Eric's replies urged caution, sensing a pressure Bella couldn't name. As she unpacked her wetsuit, her fingers trembled, not from cold, but from a gnawing doubt. Jerry's prior visits to Tahoe, 5 and 2 years, remained his secret, a shadow cast over their new bond. The lake waited, its depths whispering of truths yet to surface, as Bella braced for a challenge she wasn't sure she could conquer. A chill hung in the air as Bella Nick zipped her wetsuit, the Tahoe Explorer bobbing gently on Lake Tahoe's surface. Her heart pounded, not just from the cold, but from the weight of facing her deepest fear: water's unyielding grip. Jerry Downing, her husband of days, adjusted his dive gear with practiced ease, his focus on the horizon rather than her tense posture. Their guide, Liam Boateng, a Coast Guard veteran with a diver's instinct, scanned Bella's face during orientation. Her eyes betrayed the anxiety her certifications couldn't mask. Liam suggested a shallow cove dive, but Jerry dismissed it, insisting on open water to make the most of our time. Bella nodded, her silence louder than words. The first dive at Emerald Bay was a trial by ice. Bella's breaths came fast, bubbles betraying her struggle as she gripped Liam's arm. Jerry swam ahead, his camera capturing fish while Bella lagged, her movements stiff. Surfacing, she shivered, pride mingling with exhaustion. "I did it," she texted Eric Mars, her best friend and fellow lecturer. "But it's like knives through the suit." Eric's reply was wary, sensing her effort was for Jerry, not herself. The second dive at Rubicon Point brought rougher waters. Bella, sleepless from scouring accident reports, clung to Liam as currents tugged. Jerry, defying Liam's warning, darted into a swim-through, emerging annoyed when Bella didn't follow. Their post-dive exchange was sharp. Jerry pushed for Devil's Cauldron, a dive notorious for its currents, while Bella begged to revisit Rubicon. That afternoon, Jerry slipped away, claiming to check gear. At Yoro's Adventure Outfitters, shop owner Marco Yoro saw him with Janet Dorsey, a dive instructor and climbing guide who'd been Jerry's lover for 4 years. Their hushed talk, caught on camera, ended with Janet slipping him a flash drive, their brief embrace a quiet betrayal. Bella, resting at the inn, texted Eric about Jerry's undisclosed Tahoe trips, her unease growing. "He's been here before, never said a word." Janet, linked to Jerry by a hidden prepaid phone, was a name Bella didn't know. As the lake's surface glittered, its depths held secrets. Jerry's plans, Janet's shadow, and a dive that would test more than Bella's courage. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows over Lake Tahoe's restless surface, as Bella Nick sat on the balcony of Tahoe Crest Inn, her phone glowing with unease. Her fingers traced the words she typed to Eric Mars, her confidant and fellow lecturer at Carroll University. "Jerry's been here before, multiple times, and never mentioned it." The revelation gnawed at her, a crack in the trust she'd built with her husband of mere days. Jerry Downing, now rinsing dive gear below, had dismissed her plea to avoid Devil's Cauldron, a dive site infamous for its unpredictable currents. Bella's aquaphobia, a scar from a childhood near drowning, made his insistence feel like a weight she couldn't shed. She'd earned her scuba certification for him, but each dive pushed her closer to panic. Earlier, while Bella rested, Jerry had slipped away from the inn, claiming a quick errand. At Yoro's Adventure Outfitters, far from the tourist bustle, shop owner Marco Yoro watched him linger near racks of dive tanks. A woman approached, Janet Dorsey, an expert dive instructor and climbing guide, her presence commanding yet guarded. Security cameras captured their hushed exchange, 15 minutes of leaned-in whispers, culminating in Janet slipping Jerry a small flash drive. Their parting embrace, brief but deliberate, spoke of a history Marco couldn't place. Janet had been Jerry's partner for 4 years, their bond forged in online diving forums, until an abrupt split months before Bella entered his life. Unknown to Bella, their contact persisted through a prepaid phone, a secret lifeline. Back at the inn, Bella's texts grew frantic. "Devil's Cauldron has a history. Accidents, deaths, Jerry says I'll be fine with him." Eric's replies urged caution, but Bella's resolve wavered. She scrolled through diving forums, seeking courage to face her fear, unaware of Janet's role in Jerry's past, or her presence in Tahoe. That evening, as Jerry outlined the cauldron dive, his voice calm but unyielding, Bella's gaze drifted to the lake. Its depths seemed to pulse with secrets, mirroring the doubt now coiling in her chest. Janet, unseen, packed her dive gear in a nearby lot, her eyes fixed on the inn's glowing windows. The flash drive, now in Jerry's pocket, held answers Bella would never see, and the lake waited to claim more than her courage. Dawn broke over Lake Tahoe, a silver mist cloaking the Tahoe Explorer as it cut through the glassy water. Bella Nick, her wetsuit a second skin, checked her dive gear with meticulous care, each click of her regulator a tether to survival. Her husband, Jerry Downing, adjusted his equipment, his movements precise but his attention elsewhere, his phone buzzing with unseen messages. Liam Boateng, their seasoned guide with a Coast Guard diver's instincts, scanned the horizon, wary of a cold front's approach. He'd urged caution for the Devil's Cauldron dive, its currents notorious, but Jerry's insistence prevailed. Bella's silence, her hands steady but her jaw tight, spoke of determination, masking dread. The boat anchored above the cauldron, a chasm where light frayed into shadow. Liam briefed the 6 divers, emphasizing buddy pairs and controlled ascents. Bella descended, her breathing audible, one hand grazing the mooring line, Jerry just ahead. At 55 feet, the cauldron's walls loomed, a cathedral of rock and current. Then chaos erupted. Bella's body lurched, sinking fast, 53 to 80 feet in moments, her dive computer later revealed. Jerry, at 50 feet, remained still, his gaze fixed as she vanished into silt-choked depths. Liam, spotting her drift, dove after her, but the currents and murk swallowed her form. He signaled the group to ascend, a choice heavy with regret. On the boat, Jerry stood dripping, his voice flat. "We need to call for help." His calm unnerved the crew, no trace of panic for his bride. Coast Guard divers, arriving swiftly, found Bella at 92 feet, her gear intact, air tank holding 20 minutes pressure. Her mask, filled with water, betrayed a conscious struggle, her final breaths stolen by the lake. A chilling detail emerged. Her weight belt carried 5 pounds too many, a burden for a novice diver. Jerry claimed Bella requested it for buoyancy, but Liam, shaking his head, insisted he'd never approved such a change. As Bella's body was lifted aboard, Jerry's eyes flicked to her dive bag, his request for her phone-raising brows. The lake, now rippling under gathering clouds, held its secrets tight, but the weight of suspicion began to surface. A cold wind swept across Lake Tahoe as Bella Nick's body was lifted onto the medical examiner's boat, her wetsuit glistening under a graying sky. The water-filled mask, a silent testament to her final desperate struggle, sent a chill through the Coast Guard crew. Drowning was confirmed, but the weight belt, laden with 5 pounds more than a novice like Bella should carry, raised a question that hung heavier than the lake's depths. Jerry Downing, her husband, stood apart, his face unreadable, asking about paperwork with a detachment that unnerved onlookers. When offered a blanket, he waved it away, instead requesting Bella's dive bag, his fingers lingering on her phone. A Coast Guard officer watched him scroll through messages, deleting some with a flick, his actions a quiet spark in the gathering storm of doubt. Eric Mars, Bella's best friend and fellow lecturer at Carroll University, refused to let her death fade into the lake's embrace. From Wisconsin, he bombarded the Lake Tahoe Island State Police with calls, his voice cracking with urgency. Bella was terrified of water, he insisted. She wouldn't have kept diving unless something or someone pushed her. His revelation jolted Inspector Mira McCarthy, a 13-year veteran with a nose for suspicious deaths. Bella had boosted her life insurance to $1.5 million, with Jerry as the sole beneficiary, weeks before their wedding. The policy's adventure sports writer, a costly add-on for a woman gripped by aquaphobia, felt like a puzzle piece that didn't fit. McCarthy, digging deeper, uncovered Jerry's 5 prior Tahoe visits, a detail he'd buried from Bella. 2 trips overlapped with bookings under Jay Dorsey, a name that led to Janet Dorsey, Jerry's ex of 4 years. Marco Yoro, owner of Yoro's Adventure Outfitters, added fuel to the fire. He recalled Jerry's meeting with Janet at his shop, their whispered exchange ending with a flash drive past and a fleeting embrace. Security footage confirmed it, the images grainy but damning. Eric, accessing Bella's shared cloud account, found her frantic searches, diving panic, aquaphobia remedies, and emails pleading for a different honeymoon met with Jerry's unyielding focus on Tahoe's dives. McCarthy's gut churned as she traced a prepaid phone linking Jerry to Janet, their contact unbroken despite their supposed split. Bella's cremation, orchestrated by Jerry alone without notifying her family or Eric, felt like an erasure. not grief. As McCarthy stood by the lake, its surface now a churn of whitecaps, she murmured. Water wipes away evidence, but it can't hide intent. The case, labeled an accidental drowning, was beginning to crack, and the truth seemed to lurk just below the surface. The hum of a computer fan filled Inspector Mira McCarthy's office as she pored over a diver's footage, the screen flickering with Lake Tahoe's underwater shadows. Captured during Bella Nick's fatal dive at Devil's Cauldron, the low-light camera revealed a chilling anomaly, a fourth diver, not part of the group, hovering at the chasm's edge. The figure, clad in technical dive gear, moved with purpose, drifting toward Bella's final trajectory before fading into the silt. McCarthy's pulse quickened. This was no coincidence. Records from Euro's Adventure Outfitters confirmed Janet Dorsey, Jerry Downing's former lover, had rented advanced dive equipment that morning, claiming a private training dive elsewhere. Hours later, she vanished, her Toyota Camry abandoned at a Reno bus station, her trail leading to whispers of sightings in Cuba, Morocco, and the Maldives. McCarthy's investigation peeled back layers of deception. Phone records exposed a prepaid line tying Jerry to Janet, their communication a hidden thread through their supposed breakup. Janet, an expert dive instructor and climbing guide, had shared 4 years with Jerry, their passion rooted in diving forums until an abrupt end months before Bella's arrival. Yet their connection never severed, cloaked in secrecy. Eric Mars, Bella's steadfast friend, unearthed more from her cloud account. Emails where Jerry dismissed her fears, insisting she'd love diving, and Bella's late-night searches for courage against her aquaphobia. The $1.5 million insurance policy with its adventure sports writer loomed larger, its timing, weeks before the wedding, a glaring red flag. McCarthy's theory crystallized. Jerry, driven by greed, added the fatal 5 pounds to Bella's weight belt, knowing the cauldron's currents would overwhelm her. Janet's role, witness or enabler, remained a haunting unknown. The prosecution's case, though, teetered on the edge. Without direct evidence of tampering or Janet's testimony, murder was a leap too far. Dive computer data showed Bella's rapid descent, Jerry's inaction at 50 feet, but water erased the rest. The insurance company, citing misrepresentation of Bella's diving experience, denied Jerry's $1.5 million claim, and he withdrew his lawsuit, a retreat that spoke volumes. Jerry, now in Idaho, worked remotely, his life a quiet defiance of the suspicion trailing him. McCarthy, staring at the footage's ghostly diver, felt the case slipping like sand. The lake had swallowed Bella's truth, but Eric's resolve, fueling online forums and a memorial site, kept her story alive. As McCarthy closed her laptop, a new tip about Janet's whereabouts flickered in her inbox, a faint pulse in a case that refused to die. A faint hum of traffic drifted through the open window of Inspector Mira McCarthy's office, where case files sprawled like a map of lost truths. Bella Nick's file, thick with notes and grainy stills from a diver's camera, anchored the chaos. The Lake Tahoe Island State Police had labeled Bella's death an accidental drowning, but McCarthy's instincts screamed otherwise. The 5-pound excess on Bella's weight belt, Jerry Downing's unshaken calm, and the ghostly fourth diver, likely Janet Dorsey, pointed to a calculated betrayal. Yet, without concrete evidence of tampering or Janet's testimony, the prosecution's case was a house of cards. Water, as McCarthy had learned, was the perfect eraser, leaving only whispers of intent. The insurance company's rejection of Jerry's $1.5 million claim, citing Bella's misrepresented diving skills, forced him to drop his lawsuit, a silent admission that fueled McCarthy's resolve. Jerry had fled the lake's shadow, resettling in Idaho's arid expanse, far from any dive site. His remote tech job and low profile couldn't shake the digital trail Eric Mars, Bella's fierce friend, kept alive. Eric's memorial website for Bella, paired with relentless posts on true crime forums, drew amateur sleuths who dissected every detail. The flash drive, Jerry's prepaid phone, Janet's vanishing act. Their theories, wild yet persistent, mirrored Eric's grief-driven mission to honor Bella. A Carroll University lecturer once called Madam Get It Done for saving lost students. Bella's parents, a retired social worker and former principal, channeled their sorrow into a scholarship for social work students, ensuring her compassion endured. Liam Boateng, the dive guide haunted by Bella's descent, abandoned Devil's Cauldron, now advocating for stricter buddy protocols across dive shops. His words lingered. No one deserves to die just for being pushed too far. McCarthy's desk held a new Interpol alert, another unconfirmed sighting of Janet, this time in Morocco. The dive instructor's escape, hours after Bella's death, her Toyota Camry left at a Reno bus station, was a taunt. Janet's history with Jerry, 4 years of shared dives and secrets, suggested she was more than a bystander. The flash drive, passed at Yoro's shop, remained a locked riddle. As McCarthy traced the contours of Bella's final dive, the lake's currents seemed to mock her efforts, hiding truths in their ceaseless churn. Eric's latest email, brimming with forum leads, hinted at a diver's tip, a possible Janet sighting in the Maldives. The case, officially closed, pulsed in McCarthy's mind, a tide that refused to recede, pulling her toward a truth that shimmered just out of reach. Moonlight fractured on Lake Tahoe's surface, each ripple a silent keeper of Bella Nick's fate. Her final moments, clawing through Devil's Cauldron's icy depths, her mask flooding as she fought for breath, haunted those who sought her justice. Bella, the lecturer who mended broken students, had trusted Jerry Downing's vow to shield her from harm. Instead, she sank, weighted by 5 pounds too many, while Jerry watched, unmoved. The $1.5 million insurance policy, with its adventure sports writer, a glaring clue, painted a motive of greed. Janet Dorsey's shadow, caught on a diver's footage, hinted at complicity, her flight to places like Cuba, and beyond a taunt to investigators. Yet, the lake's depths, erasing evidence with every current, crafted a near-perfect crime, leaving only fragments of suspicion. Inspector Mira McCarthy, her office now a shrine to Bella's case, refused to let it fade. The prepaid phone linking Jerry to Janet, the flash drive exchanged at Yoro's, and Bella's frantic aquaphobia searches formed a mosaic of betrayal. Eric Mars, her unwavering ally, fueled online forums, his memorial site a beacon for Bella's memory. Her parents' scholarship at Carroll University carried her spirit forward, aiding future social workers. Liam Boateng's advocacy reshaped diving safety, a tribute to Bella's loss. But justice remained elusive. Jerry, cloaked in Idaho's anonymity, lived free, while Janet's Interpol alerts yielded only ghosts. The case, a cold case in name, burned in McCarthy's resolve, each new tip a spark in the dark. Bella's story pierced deeper, a mirror to trust's fragility. She'd faced her fear of water for love, believing Jerry's promise. The lake, however, cared nothing for vows, its currents a vault for secrets. Was her death a misstep in a dive she dreaded, or a calculated act by those she held closest? The question lingered, as did the image of Bella's hand, reaching for a surface she'd never touch. Her legacy, woven through Eric's fight and her parents' gift, defied the lake's silence. McCarthy, closing her file, felt the weight of unanswered truths, the cauldron's shadows mocking her. Yet, a faint email alert, a diver's claim of spotting Janet, stirred hope. The lake might guard its secrets, but Bella's voice, through those who loved her, echoed still, demanding to be heard. If this story shook you, there's more where that came from. Like, share, and subscribe now. Don't miss the truth behind the headlines.